plan for today, our essential question, what makes us who we are? I want you to think for a minute. If I asked you, what makes us who we are? What makes you who you are? Raise your hand if you have a solid answer for me right now. What makes you who you are? Okay, a couple of you. So the goal is by the end of class that you can answer this question for me. What makes you who you are? That's the goal. What we're doing, we're exploring all of our different identities. Why? Remember, the whole theme of this school year is the power of your voice and using your voice to make change. And we have to know who we are before we can start making change, before we figure out what we're passionate about. So we're going to do a discussion, we're going to watch a little film, you're going to have some graphic organizers. So that is the plan. But before anything else, I asked you to get a writing utensil because there are 4 posters around the room. And I'm going to ask you in just a moment to stand up and write your names on the appropriate posters. Here's one. It says sports at North. You have played or you want to play a sport at North. I'm going to ask you to put your name on it, what sport it is. In the back of the room, I have a jobs poster. If you have, and then on the windows, outside activities. Do you have any club sports? Do you participate in religious activities? And then behind Ski and Alex, any clubs at North that you have joined? Questions? All right, go. I asked you a couple minutes ago what makes you who you are, right? Well now, some of you can say, well, sports makes me who I am, or a job makes me who I am, or a club I participate in. So that's one thing. So we're starting to build this profile of what makes you who you are. So I'm gonna ask you actually to get up again. Oh, Miss Henderson, yeah, it's okay. It keeps you energized in the morning, I promise. All right. But this time we need to make sure that chairs get pushed in because we're going to be moving back and forth. But I'm going to give you directions first. All right. I'm going to put 2 categories up here. For example, here's my first one. People who are right-handed, people who are left-handed. When I say go, not yet. If you are right-handed, you're going to go stand by the windows. When I say go, if you're left-handed, you're going to go stand by the board over here. But I need to make sure chairs get pushed in so we don't fall down. Questions? The next statement. So some of you are going to move. Stay where you are for right now. If you practice any sort of religion, you're going to stay over there, or if you consider yourself religious. If you consider yourself non-religious, you're going to move your body over here to the board. Go! So take a look around, see who's kind of with you in your category. Hey, right-handed, left-handed, religious, non-religious, that also makes you who you are. Okay, next one. If you were born in Arizona, you're going to go stand by the windows. If you were born somewhere besides Arizona, you're going to stand by the board. Go! In Oakland, Alex, where were you born? California, ski.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. All right. Good morning. Will you switch over here? Were you born in Arizona or out of Arizona, Mariah? In. All right, so you'd stand over there, but don't worry about going there yet. Just sit tight for a second. All right, next one. If you speak more than one language fluently, not like, oh, it's my second week in French. I speak French. No, like if you actually speak 2 languages, you're going to stand by the windows. If you are only monolingual, you only speak English, you're going to go to the board. Ready? Go! All of you who are bilingual, job market. So many jobs need people bilingual if you're setting yourself up over here. We got to practice over here. But I want you to think about, a couple minutes ago I asked you what makes you who you are. Now you have more categories. This time you're just going to point for me where you belong. Okay? So keep your hands ready to move, but your bodies can stay still. So now, if you consider yourself a first-generation American, as in you were the first generation of your family born in America, you're going to point to the window. If you are not, you're going to point to the board. Ready, point. Okay. All right, beautiful. Put your hands down. Next. Does anybody know what an extrovert or an introvert is? Elijah, do you want to explain it a little bit or no?
Like when you're an extrovert, you're more outgoing. Just more, you put yourself out there. An introvert, you like try to stay in, like secluded and try to not be.
It's like having your own space. A lot of people define extrovert and introvert as like where you get your power from. So like extroverts, if they're feeling like they're exhausted, if they go join a group of people, they feel energized. Whereas introverts need like alone time to feel more energized. So if you are an extrovert, good morning, Josh. Hey, Josh, will you sit in one of the empty seats right here? Thank you. So if you consider yourself an extrovert, you're going to point to the windows. If you consider yourself an introvert, you're going to point to the board. Go point. If you're both, raise your hand. Me too. All right, put your hands down. At the beginning of class, I said, who can answer me that question? One person said maybe. Now we have all these things that make us who we are, but we're going to keep exploring that. So these are some vocabulary terms we're going to use today. Social and personal identity, and then visible and invisible characteristics. I want you at your tables talk about what do you think is the difference here between social identity and personal identity. Take about 2 minutes to talk about your favorite. Go. You're all right, and the outside, the social identity is what the world sees, or what you want the world to see. So I want you to picture for a minute, I'm walking at Metro Center Mall or Tempe Marketplace, and you see me. I'm by myself, here I am, walking along. What are things you notice about me right away? Jesse?
I wasn't making
That's okay. Tell me what's something you recognize about me right away, or you notice.
you seem kind.
Okay, maybe I'm smiling, my facial expressions. Okay, so expressions.
You're walking like alone, you're not with anybody.
Okay, so if I'm alone or not alone. What else? What else do you see? What I'm wearing, my style. Somebody yesterday goes, I could tell you're a teacher by the way you're dressed. I'm like, ooh, I don't think that's good. What else do you notice? I have short hair or medium hair or whatever. What color is my hair? Brownish, so you notice my hair. What else do you notice? I wear glasses. What else? The way I walk. So like my walk or my gait, kind of the way I walk. I'm wearing a ring, so I'm married or in a relationship. Yeah. What gender do you think I am? Female. What race do you think I am? White. I'm white. You can say what else do you notice? So my height, right? Thank you for saying not that tall instead of like, oh, Henderson, you're short. Thank you. I appreciate it. and a height also goes with body shape and size, right? Like I am a bigger person, you'd notice that. What about my age? Would you notice my age? Yeah, Elijah's 25. Yeah, extra credit for Elijah.
Good sign.
Well, you notice I'm not your age, right? I'm your parents' age, or in some cases your grandparents' age. Thank you, Alex. So these are all the things that you notice about me. That's my social identity. But it's also what I want to share with you. So think about things I've shared with you about myself that you may not have, and it's only been a week and a half, but what have I shared with you that you may not see right away, but that I've shared with you? I love my dogs. What else? First, I want to show you this nifty thing that I made the other day that kind of also explains social and personal identity. So here's your social identity out in the world. Here's your personal identity. It's more unique to yourself. The visible ones are the ones that you see. Obviously, the invisible ones are the ones you don't see. So someone's perceived race, it's their social, right? Their perceived gender, their age, we talked about these. Their hair color, their eye color, their body shape or size. The invisible ones, their sexual orientation perhaps, maybe their religion, maybe their immigration status. So those are your social identities. Any mental health struggles, that also might be personal identity. You've also got your traits, your right-handed, your left-handedness, your values, your behaviors, your habits. And so, takes us back to this. What makes us who we are? Our objective today is we're explaining how a person's identity can consist of various personal and social identities. So I'm going to give you a paper. You're going to create your own identity circle like I did on the board. And I don't care what color you use, so grab the color you want and then pass the papers around. And then outside circle, you're going to like, you're looking at stuff on the page. So like, things from the world book of yours. You see your race, this is your gender, this is your age, that kind of stuff. So you're going to write that stuff on the inside. But on the inside is stuff that people may not see or that you don't share.
It's a teach.
That's up to you. You don't have to have tons of stuff. Just draw 2 circles for me, an outside and an inside. And then on the outside circle, you're gonna put stuff in the left column. Like what the world, when the world sees you, what do they see? They see your race, gender, age, that kind of stuff. The inside circle is stuff that they don't necessarily see, stuff that's unique. Alright. So, you have just, and we're not sharing this out, but you've just identified some things that make you you. Remember our central question today. What makes us who we are? You now have all kinds of identities written down to discuss this. But now here's my question for you now. I want you to think about some of the identities that you've written down. typically the outside ones, the social ones, what the world sees. And I want you to think about how do those identities change how the world interacts with you? Just think about that for a second. Do people treat you differently based on those outside identities? Like, let me start here. How many of you think that people treat you differently because of your age? I mean, like adults. Do you think adults treat you differently because of your age? Okay, all right. What are some ways that adults treat you differently? Be honest. I know. I'm an adult too. Say that again. They don't get you? Is that kind of what you said?
I said, like, they said they don't get us good because we're too old for kids.
Oh, okay. So you're like in this uncomfortable spot of like you're not a little kid, but you're not a full-fledged adult yet and interact with us. What about race or gender? Does the world treat you differently based on your race or your gender? I'm nodding my head yes because the answer is yes, I promise. Anybody ever felt like you've been mistreated or discriminated against or put in, like people already prejudge you based on one of those characteristics? Raise your hand if you think that's true for you one time in your life or more. Interesting. Okay, put your hands up. And why are assumptions dangerous? So think about that for a couple seconds. Why is it dangerous to make assumptions? Why is it dangerous to assume things about people based on physical traits? You're good. You're good. Think about what I'm saying.
Why is it what?
Why is it dangerous to make assumptions when you see someone? Talk to people at your table. Why is that dangerous? Why is it dangerous? Why can it be harmful? Assumptions to guess about people.
I don't think it's good.
Yeah, right? Right? What? Come on. All right, we're almost done with what we're doing today. But I'm going to take your attention back here in just 3, 2, and 1. Thank you. So I want to know what your table said. Casey, what did you say again? Why are assumptions dangerous? Because people get offended, right? Why else can assumptions be dangerous? Is it dangerous to make assumptions? Yeah. What could be a result of that? Fighting, people get angry, violence. Be honest, first day of school, think back, it wasn't that long ago, it was just last week. How many of you made an assumption, maybe about a teacher, I don't know, that you totally made an assumption and then, oh no, you were completely wrong? Does anybody make an assumption the first day of school that was wrong? It's okay, own it, me too. Okay, all right. So sometimes it's dangerous to make assumptions, and that we're going to keep talking about that tomorrow and then kind of throughout the year, why it's dangerous to make assumptions. But I want to take us back now to the essential question, which is up there on the right-hand side again. What makes us who we are? Because think back to the beginning of class. You wrote your names on posters. You moved to both sides of the room. You pointed to both sides of the room. We made identity circles. You watched a video about people's identities. You found identities in people's. You made assumptions about people's identities. And now I'm taking us back to this. What makes us who we are? So again, you're going to talk to your table just for a minute or two. If I asked you this question, how would you answer it? As people, what makes us who we are? Talk to people at your table about it before we do anything else. Talk to people about this question. Go ahead. Hobbies, experience. I'm going to collect both papers, y'all, on your way out so we can use them again on Friday. So just so you know, don't put them away. But the rest of class is yours if you need a tech break, if you need a homework, whatever.